Have you ever wondered how you'd count all the cars on a highway, but without being allowed to stop any of the traffic? Well, that's pretty much the challenge electricians used to face every single day. Today, we're going to dive into the really clever tool that solved this puzzle, the clamp meter. So let's just start with that puzzle. Think about a river, right? How would you measure how fast the water is flowing without actually getting in and stopping it? That is the exact problem electricians have with electricity. How in the world do you measure its flow, its current, without shutting everything down? For the longest time, the answer was, well, you couldn't. This was what we call the current conundrum. You see, to measure electricity, you literally had to stop it first, which, as you can probably guess, caused a ton of problems. Yeah, the old way was pretty brutal. It meant you had to physically cut into a live wire, shut down the whole system, stick a meter into the circuit, and then you just had to hope you could splice it all back together correctly. This wasn't just slow and a huge pain. It meant shutting down critical equipment. And, let's be honest, it was incredibly dangerous. But then, somebody came up with this incredibly elegant solution, a tool that could solve this entire problem without all that hassle and, risk. So let's meet the hero of our story, the clamp meter. So what's the big secret? How does it work? I mean, this quote right here says it all. You can measure current without ever making direct electrical contact. Now, that sounds like straight up magic, doesn't it? But it's actually just some really, really clever physics. And that magic? It's all about magnetism. It turns out, and this is the key, every single time electricity flows through a wire, it creates this invisible force field, a magnetic field, all around it. The clamp meter is basically just a device that's designed to see and measure that invisible field. And the process itself is actually surprisingly simple. First, you've got current flowing through the wire. Easy enough. That flow creates that invisible magnetic field we were just talking about. Then, the jaws of the clamp meter, they just go around the wire. They don't even have to touch it, and they can sense that field. And finally, the meter just instantly converts that field strength into a super precise current reading on the screen. It's just brilliant. All right, so let's put these two methods head to head, because when you see the old way versus the new way side by side, the difference becomes, well, it's just crystal clear. And this table just lays it all out perfectly. With a clamp meter, you connect around the wire. With the old school ammeter, you had to insert it in series. You had to become part of the circuit. And that one difference changes everything. It means no circuit interruption for the clamp meter. A huge, huge win. And that directly leads to the next 2 points. It's so much safer because you're not messing with live conductors, and it is dramatically faster, no question. Okay, let's go back to our highway analogy for a second. The clamp meter? It's like a police radar gun. It just points, gets a reading, and the car never even slows down. The traffic just keeps flowing. The old ammeter, that's a full-on checkpoint inspection. Every car has to stop, get checked, the entire flow is interrupted. The difference in efficiency is just massive. So, this isn't just some cool gadget or a neat theory. This tool has a huge impact on how pros work every single day, out there in all sorts of critical, high-stakes environments. Seriously, you will find these things everywhere. From just routine electrical maintenance in an office building to the engine room of a massive container ship where they're monitoring these huge motors. They're absolutely essential for troubleshooting in big factories where you can't just shut down a whole production line. And hey, even for simple household electrical inspections. And all of these different applications, they all hinge on one central benefit. The one thing that truly makes this tool a game changer. It is, quite simply, the uninterrupted advantage. So why does this matter so much? Well, preventing equipment downtime can save a company thousands, maybe even millions of dollars. Improving technician safety? Well, that means people get to go home to their families at the end of the day. It saves an enormous amount of time and effort, and it basically eliminates the risk of making a mistake when you're putting the wires back together, a mistake that could fry expensive equipment or even cause a fire. So, look, if there is just one thing you remember from all of this, let it be this. The superpower of the clamp meter is its ability to work without ever interrupting the circuit. It's the simple, elegant solution to that whole conundrum of measuring the flow without stopping it. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? We figured out a way to see an invisible magnetic field around a wire and used it to solve a really big problem. It just makes you wonder, what other invisible forces are all around us right now just waiting for another clever tool to measure them and make our world even safer and more efficient.